Well, welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. Pam Maldonado, joined by my girl Kelly in Vegas. I know we missed last week, but we're back for week 12, picking 5 against the spread contest picks in the NFL this week. Kelly, while you were over there sipping Mai Tais in the Bahamas, I was over here grinding it out in Vegas. Please tell me you had such an amazing time. But now you're ready to
Oh,
get
I had
back
a
to work.
great time, but the Bahamian Wi-Fi was just too much of an issue. I ended up having to come back a day early for all of the shows that I had planned on doing remote Monday and Tuesday. It was kind of a whole ordeal, but hey, K-State played good in one game, and I got to celebrate my birthday with some of my favorite people. Unfortunately, you were not there. And Thursday and Friday were really good. Saturday was really bad, and Sunday was even worse because we lost our Commander Survivor pick.
We did, and that was awful. I was expecting it to happen though, so I wasn't shocked. I even did a post
You were,
interview.
you were expecting the Commanders to turn the ball over 6 times.
No, but I'm expecting them to lose. I really didn't like it from the start. I was like, nope, I don't like it. But we didn't really have any other options. So I was keeping my fingers crossed for like a 1-point win. The turnovers, Sam Howell's one of the most sacked. I don't know. It was just a very fishy situation. Whatever. It is the past. That is why Survivor is something that you can do every year. So maybe next year we'll make it into Thanksgiving week and it'll be better, but it'll be fun. But it was fun. It was a good dynamic with us. Having 3 people in Survivor, it's an interesting prospect. I had a lot of fun. So regardless of the result, it was still a good season. We are still doing in this contest. This is something that we're completing every week until the season ends, at least for this one. So what we are doing is 5 against the spread contest picks. These lines are released every Wednesday. They're flat lines. They do not change. And Kelly's best bet hit last week. Mine was a push. But this week, what are you rolling with as your best bet for week 12?
So we're going all the way to Monday Night Football, Pam. Sorry to start, and then we'll go backwards. But I'm laying the 3.5 with the Minnesota Vikings. I know I don't need a lot of chalk, but when I do, it is for good reason. The Vikings have just been dominating against the spread. They've covered 6 straight, and I don't see a reason why they can't cover a 7th. Now, last weekend, the Broncos, oh boy, probably did not deserve to win that football game, but they still did not cover. The Vikings, I think, have been one of the stingiest teams in the league from the defensive side of things, right? In those same 6 games that they've covered, they've allowed just 18 points per game. It's been great. I like this team a lot. I know there's a lot of rumors if Justin Jefferson is coming back or not. I do not care. I don't think it matters. Josh Dobbs has been very serviceable and has not proved that he deserves a starting spot on the Vikings because that is reserved for Kirk Cousins, but probably another NFL team. A lot of people are going to be excited that your guy Justin Fields is back, as he was last week. And they kind of gave the Lions a little bit of a scare, if you will, but I'm not worried about it. The Bears defense still is a liability. This one looks like it could be a higher scoring affair. I know a lot of primetime games have gone under, but I wouldn't be surprised to see both of these teams airing it out here.
So this is a perfect example of and proof that Kelly and we do not talk about these games prior. We don't text each other really anything. It's really just come into this blind. I want to hear your thoughts. You want to hear my thoughts. Bears was my best bet. You're going to Monday Night Football. And I was like, oh, good. We have the same best bet. No, we don't.
No, why? I don't like the Bears. I like nothing about this team. I think they are an absolute shortcoming of a team. They are poorly coached. Justin Fields, as I mentioned, might as well be named Davis Mills because that's who they are on and off the field. They are lackluster and unimpressive. And really, Jared Goff threw some interceptions last week. Yeah. And what did they do with it? What did the Bears do with those interceptions? That's right. They squandered it away because they're not any good.
Listen, I was probably one of the few. I was probably one of the few people who called that the Bears are going to end their losing streak. So I feel like I just have a really good grasp on this team. Obviously, we're not going to use it as my best bet. We'll stick to yours with the Vikings, but we're
going to skip this whole game. I don't love this week. There's other games. I literally, for other shows, I have to pick a best bet, right? That's how the end of the show works. That's how this show works. The problem is if I say, oh, the Vikings are my best bet here, and then 2 days later I do a show with Pam and I say, well, now this is also a best bet, people lose their ever-living minds. So I gave this out on Monday. I actually
This is why we're sticking This is why we're sticking with Vikings as your best bet, and whatever it may
Okay.
be. You for the contest, it's Vikings minus 3.5. I will go ahead and wager my Bears plus 3.5 for the contest. We'll stick to the Vikings. Just to give my reasoning as to why was because yes, I do believe that Justin Fields is back. He was really productive prior to his injury. He had back-to-back games of 280 plus passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. The difference, what he did before getting injured, was he really upped his rushing ability, something that we hadn't seen him do in his first game back. Rinse, repeat. And it was more about efficiency over volume. He had 18 carries for 104 yards, and the Vikings blitz on a league high. Fields has been amazing against the blitz over his career. This season, he's throwing for 8 YPA. He has a 7% touchdown rate when blitz. That's one of the top 5 in the leagues. Tie that in with your rushing ability. Now you have a lot more passing upside. That connection with DJ Moore, it is legitimate and it is in tune and in sync once again. With Fields in the game, Moore is now averaging 13.5 air yards per target. That's one of the top receivers in the league. 3 games, just 3 games with Fields, Moore has 5 touchdowns, 500 receiving yards. 3 of the last 4 quarterbacks that Minnesota has faced, Jameis Winston, Taylor Heineke, Jordan Love. None of them are really mobile outside of Heineke. Justin Fields is a different class up based off of what he's been doing as of late. You can look at the first game that they played against the Bears with the Vikings. That was the game that Fields got injured with his thumb. I love the Bears. That's my best bet for the week. Or the contest, we will use Kelly's best bet of Vikings just so we can stay stagnant of this is what you got. People stop saying whatever the reasoning is.
Notice I'm just leaning back. So I love that you do these deep dives, Pam, and you have all these different quarterback metrics, but they don't equate to covers or wins. That's the problem. So one of the things I learned about the NFL was we can just dig deep like I do and you do in college football, right? And we look for those outright underdog winners. In the NFL, it is so ridiculous. I actually said on another show today, I can't tell you how rich I would be if I only had to wager on 3 quarters of the NFL. What happens in that 4th quarter and during witching hour is absolutely catastrophic to my bankroll each and every week. I would not be surprised to see something crazy happen in the 4th quarter here, full disclosure, but 5, 13, and 1. That is a 19-game sample size. That is what they are against the spread. This team just burns people's money over and over and over again. And that is why I can't trust them, whether it's laying points or taking points. They're 3-17 in their last 20 games. So at 3.5, we're basically asking this team to go into Minneapolis and get a win, right? We know that almost, I think it's like, I haven't looked at this year's numbers, but it's like almost 4.5% of NFL games land 3, right? I used to keep really good track of it because these numbers used to really matter. And they've started to falter, right? 4 is becoming more common. 1 is becoming more common, as my joke is with my good friend John Murray. So yes, 3 is still a key number, but it's actually taken a few steps back over the years. And so that's why I'm not afraid to lay 3.5 with this team.
Well, the Bears covered in the 3 games that Fields rushed his rushing ability. It's a different team now than what they have been in the last 2 seasons. I don't care what you've done in the history of NFL. I don't care that the Bears are 1 and 130. What have you done for me lately? This is an offense that is progressing now, starting to change with the times because, hey, they figured out we have a quarterback that can run. Well, when you do that, now that opens up the passing game. Oh, shit. Now we got a wide receiver downfield because we think we're going to defend against the run. Turns out Fields is going to do a little bit of play action and bomb it downfield. It's just becomes a different game. So, yes, you can look at the metrics. I'm looking at what the metrics are as of late. Smaller sample size, yes. And it's not about, hey, are you going to win the game outright? Are you going to be competitive? Can they still fuck up in the end? Absolutely. We have seen it from the Bears time and time again. It happens. It is the Bears. They are going to bear after all. As a Bears fan, it's hard to watch. We will stick with the Vikings. Another game that I was looking at. Honestly, I hate this week. It's rushed. It's Thanksgiving. It's always very difficult to get things up early. There's a bunch of college football that I have to focus on because of my weekend, because of my priorities. So I'm gonna be real. Guys. This is called transparency at its finest. I looked at NFL the last hour. So here's what I got. Other than the Bears, the Packers. And honestly, I love Jared Goff, and I love the Lions, and I love this team, and I love Dan Campbell. But really, what we are seeing, short sample size, is Jared Goff has thrown back to his interception ways this season compared to last year when he was finally stopped that. He had 0 interceptions in his final 9 games of the season. Now he has 5 interceptions in his last 4. He's reverting back to his early 2022 season Goff. I don't know what the exact reason as to why. Haven't had a time to like figure it out. Are they extending? Because what they did was shorten his passing yardage, his yards. Now he's not. Is it because they're starting to let him bomb it downfield? Whatever it is, haven't researched that part. But at least the Packers defense, 11th in YPA, 13th in passer rating, 20th in dropback EPA, 21st in success rate. The Packers have faced the 5th fewest pass attempts, and we saw it in that first game where the Lions, all they had to do was run the ball. That could very much be in success today. Again, it's very difficult to beat a team twice in the same season. It's very difficult for a team to cover the spread twice.
Yeah, and they absolutely routed them in Green Bay. It was an embarrassment. I mean, the Lions have not won into Green Bay and won like that in a very long time. I would agree with you.
Exactly.
Look, I have the Lions in Survivor this week. I know their defense has been absolutely terrible this last 3 games, but they're still winning these games, and that's the difference. These games that if you talk to Lions fans throughout their entirety, they would have never came back and won those games. There's something different about this team. You were talking about how the Bears are different. I think this Detroit team is different, and there is no Aaron Jones for the Packers. So that does concern me. And also, Emmanuel Wilson is a little banged up.
Oh, yeah, no, the Packers' injuries are definitely piling up.
Yeah, and then so it looks like A.J. Dillon would be the starting running back for them. I will say this. Jordan Love did have the best game of his career against the Chargers last week. He did not throw any interceptions. That doesn't mean he's going to be devoid of not throwing interceptions this game, especially on the road in a dome. Ford Field is going to be insane. This is going to be one of those games where historically the Lions probably would have 2/3 of the stadium full. It is going to be insane. So I think it's going to be a very hostile environment. The 7.5 is a little off, especially after what we saw last couple of weeks from this Lions team. I don't love it or hate it. I just need the Lions to win. How about this? I just need the Lions to win by 3 because I tease them in every possible scenario.
So the concern is Jared Goff shaking off a bad game. We've yet to see it because he hasn't really had one. How does he rebound in this position? Number 2, Goff on Thanksgiving. The Lions, this is what we're talking about. How much weight do you want to use over the grand scheme of things, or do you want to keep it to a short sample size? Jared Goff on Thanksgiving with the Lions, 0-2 straight up, 2-0 against the spread. 2-0 against the spread, however, those were underdogs. This is the first time they're being a favorite in Thanksgiving. Goff is 1-4 straight up on short rest with the Lions, and he's 2-7 straight up on short rest in his past 9 starts. This is my concern. You're showing me that you already have this season and over the last 2 seasons a history of unable to rebound strongly, coming off a bad game. I like the Packers to cover. I'm not saying they're going to pull out the outright upset, but it wouldn't shock me only if Goff has a bad game like he did last one.
They haven't won in Detroit since, last 5. They haven't won since 6 years ago in Detroit. 2-11 in their last 13 games just against Detroit, and 0-5 in their last 5 straight up and against the spread. I don't think they're winning the game. I don't care. We can take the 7.5. That you can take it or leave it. Like I said, as long as Detroit wins this game by basically 2 or more for me.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have a lot to agree on this week. So we'll go to by default. We'll go ahead and plug that in. What do you think about just looking at the rest of the Thanksgiving slate? Then, do you have an opinion for Washington and Cowboys?
I mean, I
12.5.
I could sit here and lie and say this is a great buy low spot on Washington. And you and I spoke about why I wanted to use the Lions on Thanksgiving and Survivor because I can't trust Dallas, right? They're absolutely cooked on Thanksgiving, 1-11 against the spread. But they do win some of those games, right? And that's kind of the problem. They're 6-4 in their last 10 against the Commanders. So I would love for the Commanders to win outright, but that's not going to happen. It just doesn't look like it's a feasible option. would Dallas lay an egg at home on Thanksgiving? They have before, but this Dallas team is a lot more well-rounded than we've seen in the past. They have a decent running game. They've got Dak healthy, and they have a solid defense. I could take or leave this game, but 12.5 seems a little egregious.
I mean, that's all this is Micah Parsons against Sam Howell, who has 51 sacks. It's the second most in the NFL. The Cowboys, 7 sacks last week to the Panthers. Dallas leads in NFL pressure rate and second in sack rate. So that is a huge mismatch alone, which is already telling of why the spread is 12.5 to begin with. Still, though, and we even saw it last week, Washington's defense is still really good with that pass rush. We have seen Dak Prescott struggle against a pass rush in Arizona. That's why they lost outright. And even though Howell is getting sacked ferociously, like first in the NFL in passing yards and completions, 7th in passing touchdowns, 3rd in first down completions, all while taking the most sacks of a quarterback. He can still have 9 sacks in this game and still cover a 12.5 spread because the Washington defense is at least applying enough pressure to also slow down Dak. Better on the road. Sam Howell is better on the road. He's 5-1 against the spread in his career on the road. All 6 have ended in 1-score games. And in his defense, he did have his first career start against Dallas last year. He was sacked 3 times, 1 interception. So he's not oblivious to what type of pass rush this defense can create for him.
Hey, I'm with you. I could definitely get on board with the Commanders, and then that'll give me something to cheer for them to win outright.
And then maybe everybody who's saving for Survivor since you're still in, root for chaos and hope the Cowboys lay with that egg that you're talking
I'm
about.
rooting for chaos, but I also have the smallest favorite that I'm taking in this one, along with everybody else who saved the Lions. It will be the most picked on Thursday. Makes me sick to my stomach, but here we are.
What do you think about the 49ers game? That is a 4-point spread on the road.
So
to the Seahawks.
It should be 7 in the contest.
9-point spread.
Okay, so in one of the contests it's 7, and the other one it's 9, because there is some question marks around Geno Smith playing or not playing. So if it's Drew Lock, can Drew Lock save the day? Obviously, he played for the Broncos for a couple seasons. I don't love that. I think there's a little bit of too much unknown here. Otherwise, I had the Seahawks written down early in the week. But with that, now I think we have to just pass.
Okay. Is there any other game that you like?
Yeah, there's a lot of games that I like.
You literally at the top of this said, I hate this week.
I said we can change my best bet because that was my best bet on Monday. But there's 3 other games that I actually got to the window with.
All right. What are they?
All right. New England, 3.5 on the road to the Giants. And by the way, Patriots off a bye. Bill Belichick still hasn't announced who is going to be the quarterback for them. And I don't care because it doesn't matter. Bailey Zappi came in for Mac Jones, threw an interception. Before that, it was terrible, but it doesn't matter. This is a New York Giants team that, again, benefited from 6 turnovers last week. And you got New England coming off an embarrassing loss. And right before this, I did another show with a guy who's pretty tuned into New York. Have you seen the DeVito press conference? He's been all over TV, eating at the nicest restaurants. He's like on top of the world right now. Who better but Bill Belichick to bring his entire life crashing down? I like New England here. I would not be surprised to see the Giants allow the Patriots to just absolutely clobber him. I mean, this kid got sacked 9 times last week. 9 times.
No, I fully agree with it. I have no problems putting this one in because New England is at least blitzing at the 7th highest rate in the league and playing man coverage on a league high. And DeVito, very small sample size because we haven't seen much of him, but he is the 2nd worst in the NFL ahead of only Bryce Young over the last 3 weeks. So for that simple reason alone, Patriots off a bye, better defense. I don't care who's behind center, and it's DeVito coming off. All of that stuff, that's off-field talk. Cool, we can plug that in. But it's really just like, what do we like to do? Also, fade teams that looked really good last week.
Yes.
And then maybe now getting a little bit of overvalued the following week, the week after.
Another thing that we like to do is look at teams who looked really bad the past 2 weeks and who should have fired their head coach. And I can't believe he still has a job, but I like the Chargers over the Ravens this week. I know a lot of people are going to groan and grumble about that one. Sunday Night Football, primetime home dog. catching 3.5. Yeah, the 4-6. Justin Herbert led Chargers. This one's interesting because you have the Ravens, who was my best bet last week, right? And I said, okay, I love this Ravens team. Now, did I benefit from Joe Burrow getting hurt? Unfortunately, yes. But now Mark Andrews is also hurt. And that is basically the main target outside of Zay Flowers, of course, who's a wide receiver. But his tight end was kind of like his security blanket, if you will, right? This is going to be really tough. I think the Ravens are going to have to play some serious defense, and they're going to have to put pressure on Herbert. I don't know if they can do that, right? The Chargers defense is kind of what their problem has been. I don't know if Staley's going to continue calling the plays. It's been abysmal, but I do think that this defense can try to contain Jackson, and they're going to double team Flowers. Again, this offense is going to go up against a really good defense, but this is kind of one of those crucial type of games, right? You're 4-6. Baltimore, on the other hand, is doing exactly what I asked them to do, and that was just cruise into the Super Bowl so I can cash that 20-1 ticket. All kidding aside, Baltimore has a comfortable lead now in the AFC North with beating the Bengals the other night. I could see this trip out west, long week. Everybody's going to want to bet Baltimore. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chargers keep this one close, if not win outright.
What if I say that I hate this game and I like the Ravens? I think this game goes over. Like you're just
Ariel will be
like
very happy. She texted me earlier. She goes, "You love the Chargers, don't you?" I said they're going to win outright on Sunday night. And she goes, "I know, I just did my write-up." So the Ravens fan also agrees with me. I'm okay with leaving that one off. Do you want my last pick?
Yes, and the only reason why, just to touch up on it, the only reason why I hate it is because the Chargers defense is already the bottom of the barrel, and you no longer have Joey Bosa. And Lamar Jackson, yes, you no longer have Mark Andrews, but they did find another weapon in Keaton Mitchell. Now the Chargers are allowing 17, they're 30th in the league, and you just let Jordan against the pass, and you just let Jordan Love throw over 300 passing yards to you. Like, come on, this is now a huge step up. I understand the whole, like, let's back Justin Herbert as an underdog situational spot. They really need it. I just really don't even see it. I think there's just too many options, even without Mark Andrews, not having the only defensive weapon on your roster in Joey Bosa, that I don't like that.
Fair enough. I agree.
And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
It's disgusting. And this next one's going to be just as gross. So I hope you're ready. Okay. Buckle up. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills catching 3.5 on the road to America's team, the Philadelphia Eagles, a.k.a. this year's Vikings, that have just been cruising off that. I don't know how the hell they won that game on Monday night because I went to bed. I had the Eagles in a teaser, and I had Chiefs money line with one of my buddies. On the flip side, I said, let's try to middle this. Nope. Chiefs, for the third straight game, failed to score in the second half, and that was all she wrote. I woke up at like 3 a.m., checked the score, and I was like, just dropped my phone back down. I was like, you idiots. Buffalo, on the flip side, has not been great against the spread. We all know this. This is a Buffalo team who is 6-5 and on the verge of not making the playoffs for the first time in a while under Josh Allen. So I do think Philadelphia is going to be able to move the ball on the ground, but that's going to slow things down. That's going to make it more of an under type game. We'll see. Bills, look, what were they able to do? Yeah, they can shut down the Jets. Yay. But I think this is one of those weird spots, right? You've got the Eagles coming off a big game. And who do they play next week? Let me look that up because I had it written down, and that's how far down we are in my game chart. Oh, right. They play the 49ers.
Okay. So Bills +3 at the Eagles, I don't care. I can plug that in. I'm not a big believer in this Eagles team. I think they've severely regressed. And if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes not having wide receivers, they would have won that game comfortably. Facts. We were all on the Chiefs to win the money line. I didn't care about the spread. I took them on the money line, same as you. And it was just, God, you just need one guy. One guy. They just need one. Suit me up. Give me a helmet. I'll catch a better ball than you can.
Just wanted to quit. After that, I'm like, this is why I hate the fourth quarter. There's nothing I can do. That was a middled type game where I hit the side with the teaser and the money line. I have no words for what happened on Monday night other than the Eagles are playing with the golden horseshoe up their ass and have been all season long.
So yes, this is a fade on the Eagles rather than backing the Bills. I'm not opposed to it. How about another option? How about any opinion on the Rams at the Cardinals?
Coin flip to me. If you want me to pick a side, I could make a case for the Cardinals. Are they tanking? Are they not tanking? I still don't know.
On the flip side, then, I hate doing this because it breaks my heart. Going against the Jags and backing the Texans. How do you have CJ Stroud as an underdog to the Jags? I know that I think they're just like both good teams. Should be a very competitive matchup. It is a coin flip game because the line is 1.5. But CJ Stroud, let's be honest, he is the better quarterback in this situation.
I would agree with that. Listen. I'm a big CJ Stroud believer. Uh, Here's why I think the line is a little higher than it should be. What did we see last week? Oh, right, that's right. We saw the Texans struggle last week for the first time in a little while. Right before that, we saw them go into Cincinnati and win the game outright. Now they didn't lose last weekend to Arizona, and depending on when you bet it, you either got to push a win or a loss. That's why getting the best of the number is important because the game landed 5. But there was a period in time where I thought they might lose that game. And then what did Jacksonville do? That's right. They absolutely routed the Titans, who, in fairness, Will Levis has not looked as great as he did in that game where we had him against Atlanta, but also his team is just decimated. The Titans O-line, they're down to like their third string guard. They had to pull somebody off the practice squad. So I would agree with you. CJ Stroud here as a home underdog looks very easy to agree with and to take.
The only reason why with this concern, I was talking earlier about Jared Goff and how does he rebound after a bad game. The same situation could happen here with CJ Stroud. How does he rebound because he had 3 thrown interceptions? Now we have to talk about that hit that he took from Jalen Thompson that forced him to be evaluated for a concussion. He did come back into the game, but he was never the same since. He went 8 of 12, 73 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions after that hit. Is a week he never went into concussion protocol, so he is playing this week. Is that any bit of a concern? Because you kind of eliminate that from the mix. He's been fantastic this season long. I mean, he's now thrown over 9 YPA in 5 games already this season. And just historically, the Jags, they may be good on the road this year, 4-0 against
They
the
don't win
spread.
at Houston.
Against Texans, would the Jaguars are 1-4 straight up and against the spread against Houston
1
with
in
Lawrence.
10 straight up. I know Lawrence
There you
is,
go.
I know as a Jags fan, you guys like to start like the Lawrence era. They just don't win. They just do not win in Houston historically. So I could absolutely agree with you. But going back to what you said earlier about how hard it is to beat a team twice, please remember the Texans went into Jacksonville and ruined a lot of survivors that day.
Right. I'll get in because we got no other options.
Pretty much.
Unless there's another game that
Pretty
you
much
really
where we're
like.
at.
Sorry?
The only other thing I could really think about would be the Buccaneers, which sounds disgusting to even consider. They were like they're like 9th on my list to consider this week. They're not a good football team. They have shown moments of greatness. Baker Mayfield is frustrating to say the least. But I will say this much. The Colts have not proven to me that they should be a football team laying almost a field goal, whether it's at home or on the road. I don't understand all the Colts love. This is a team that, if you remember, I had very early to start the season. Anthony Richardson went out, and that was all she wrote. Your Jags walked in there and kind of changed things. Then Gardner Minshew came in, and, well, he kind of is this savior, and that's why the Colts are 5-5. But I do think the Buccaneers are one of those teams. I've watched them enough this season. They can stop the run. And if you can stop the run, you can beat the Colts. This is just a very basic handicap for me. Pam, I don't love the Buccaneers outside of that. If they can contain Jonathan Taylor, I think they can throw the Colts kind of out of their offensive scheme. Maybe go win a game on the road. This is a tough one, too.
At least this way, I would probably be leaning more towards adding in the Texans because history from the Jags. CJ Stroud is still probably the better quarterback. Jags coming off a romping, Texans coming off a bad game. It's kind of like clashing of all parts where one team's probably being undervalued, overvalued, which is why it's a 1.5. But I would feel better with the Texans rather than the Bucs.
Listen, I think Texans is going to be the square dog of the week. That doesn't mean it won't win.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be a very popular
Right.
pick. A lot of people are loving CJ Stroud, just like when I do the stuff with the better kids. They were making fun of me last week. They're
Mhm.
like, oh, you're so square. And I go, I'm so square, yet CJ just keeps cashing those over tickets. What do you want from me? I'm not going
It
to.
does.
And you know what? Even with interceptions last week, he hit his passing yards over at halftime. Halftime. Sometimes the square play is the right play. What can I say?
So you want to plug in the Texans?
Yeah, I prefer the
Okay.
Texans over the Pats all day. or
Well
I mean,
then
over the Packers
those
all
are
day.
our let's yeah, well then we'll go ahead and stick with that. Those are our 5 against the
Okay.
spread picks then. Your best bet, how did I what was your best bet again? How did I go blank on
Vikings.
that?
Remember, we're
Vikings.
opposite.
That's right. Vikings minus 3.5 at home to the Bears. Okay. Well, then that's okay. Actually, then that gave us a little bit extra. So then, minus your best bet, we liked the Packers, the Washington, Patriots, Bills, and Texans. That's now 6 games. Which one do you like least? I'm fine to keep Patriots and Bills.
Which would you say is your favorite?
Of the ones that
That's
we've
what's hard for.
discussed,
Yes,
probably the
because I feel
Packers
bad
because
because
it
you didn't get to use your best bet because it was against my best bet.
probably the Packers.
Okay,
Yeah,
so let's do
and
Vikings,
then
Patriots,
choose
Packers, Bills, Texans.
so choose between Washington and Texans.
Oh, Texans. At least I know what I'm
Okay.
getting from the Texans. I have no idea what the hell. I have a feeling there's going to be something absolutely insane that happens on Thursday, whether it's in the Lions game, the Cowboys game. One of those two teams is going to lose outright, and people are going to lose their minds. And hopefully, it's not me
Well
because
then,
I embarrass my family enough.
fingers crossed that the Lions win and the Packers cover then. So then, which honestly, that's a good scenario. And they still have
Yes.
David Montgomery. It's still a good team. What we've been saying about the Lions, they find ways to win. That is a good marking of a great team. And they win ugly. There you go. The teams that can win ugly, that is a great team. So then those are our 5 against the spread contest picks. Kelly's best bet is Vikings 3.5 at home to the Bears. We're adding on for our 4 because I'm not going to have a best bet for this podcast will be Patriots -3 at the Giants, Bills +3 to the Eagles, Packers +7.5 to the Lions, and Texans +1.5 to the Jags. So then those are our 5 against the spread contest picks. Do make sure to follow Kelly on X at Kelly in Vegas. You can follow me on X at Pamela M35. And then, happy Thanksgiving to all. I just want to say thank
Happy
you. And I'm
Thanksgiving.
appreciative of Kelly, my girl. I'm appreciative of you. I'm appreciative to anybody who watches this and to the WagerTalk family for hosting this podcast. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and we'll catch you next week.